Here's something I see all the time. Business owners spend weeks trying to cut all of those little tiny expenses, like a $50 subscription here or a small discount there, while those real costs that are actually draining your profit go totally unnoticed and untouched. And here's the truth: focusing on the breadcrumbs while ignoring those bigger costs is going to keep you stuck. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly where to look for those bigger ticket expenses that actually move the needle in your business. Okay, so hi, I'm Paula Dave. If you haven't met me before, you're new to this channel. I'm a profit coach and I help business owners get really clear on their money and their cash flow and keep more profit. So if you're interested in that, hang around. And if you're new here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe because I'd love some more subscribers. Hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any of these weekly videos. And when you finish this one, head over to my main profile and you'll see the pinned video. Watch that one because that's got the full training on the profit clarity and you'll be able to apply that directly to your business. So that's worth doing next step. Okay, so let's start here. We need to stop this trap of actually just chasing these small savings. So you know the situation, like someone in your team says, oh, if we move this software, we might save 20 bucks or $50 a month. And it sounds great on the surface. You're like, oh yeah, that really adds up. But then when you go into it and you start to look more into it, all of a sudden the migration is going to take 4 weeks. And that's 4 weeks of someone's time in the team trying to learn it and put it over. And then the whole team's got to learn it. So suddenly that $50 cost is going to cost you thousands in wages and lost momentum. Now, I'm not saying ignore it. I'm just saying it's a really small cost and we need to put things into perspective. So yes, small costs are worth tidying up, but once the bigger ones are actually looked at. Okay, so we want to focus on the bigger areas first because that's where it's going to give us the biggest return, right? Once we've got those things under control, then we can tidy up all of those little costs as well as we go. Because in reality, you don't build a profitable, scalable business by obsessing over the crumbs. You build it by focusing on those major cost drivers, those ones that are, going to really move like the cost, the efficiency, like really going to increase your profits. Okay. So I'm going to go through what those are here. So the first one is staff and contractors. Okay. So almost always in a service-based business, your biggest cost is going to be like a contractor or some staff, okay? Or it might be, I'll explain some of the other ones later, but a lot of the time you've got contractors working for you, or you've got staff working for you on your team. And if you've got that, they are a big cost. They are essential probably to what your business is, but they're also one of the areas where you can have some profit leaks. Okay. So I want you to ask yourself, because a lot of people hire as well. I've had so many stories now where people hire someone, they're like, oh no, we hired them because they're a family friend or they were a girlfriend and yeah, they're not the right fit or they're not quite right or they're paying more and they're not actually getting what they're after. And so I want you to think about, like, if you're in that situation, and I've heard it so many times and I've heard it described in so many different ways. And when my client is describing one of these situations to me, they really think, and they have so many excuses around it, they really think they've done the right thing. I want you to think about your team and really genuinely think about the roles that you've got in the organization now and think, are they the right fit? And are you paying the right amount? Because if you're paying for someone and they're a family friend or they're a relative or, they're a really nice guy or they're a really beautiful girl or whatever it is, and you're paying them and you're not really seeing a return and they're probably not the right fit or you're paying them too much, it's time to stop being so nice and it's time to stop apologizing for it. And it's also time to stop making excuses because that's actually eating into your profit. That's eating into the money that you get to take home, that you get to feed your kids with, that you get to build your life for. So we need to think about this really strategically. And if you think about it from, like, if you're if your business was a much larger organization, they would be absolutely ruthless with this. And I need you to think about it from that point of view as well. So ask yourself these questions. Are the roles still aligned with the value that they create? Is there any kind of wasted capacity that you're paying for? Like I once had a story, a client come to me and, we were working together for a while and she had put on this amazing person, she talked him up and he was amazing. Yeah, he wasn't the best worker, but he was great talking to the clients. But he wasn't the best worker, but he was great talking to, and and in the end, he actually quit. Like he actually went to the next thing before they were even prepared. But they shouldn't have had him there in the beginning because his job wasn't to talk to the clients. His job was actually to do the work, and he wasn't actually doing what they needed him to be doing. And they're also paying him a little bit too much because he'd negotiated a bit of a higher wage because that's what he had before, but it didn't suit their business. But they went with it because they didn't think they could get anyone else. Well, they did get someone else. Actually, they got someone else who was a lot more suited for the role and could do the job at the amount that they needed to pay for them. So think about it, okay? So is your team also structured for efficiency, or are you carrying some like dead weight? Are people just doing things? Are they just there and you're not giving them enough work and you're still paying them? Or are you looking at that? Like even if it's a small percentage in efficiency, that could mean a lot of money in saved expenses going out in wages or to freelancers or to contractors, okay? The second big one usually is your accommodation or your rent. So if you're renting a space or accommodation, that's going to be a costly thing, especially if you're renting it in a premium location. So you've got to think about like, do I need for my business this location? Because a lot of people jump into a location thinking, oh, it'd be great to have an office, it'd be great to be in this office, it'd be great to be here, when sometimes you don't actually need it, or you don't need as big a space as what you have, or you don't need that premium location, right? Because all of that costs money. It costs money to maintain, it costs money to have security, it costs money to have water, it costs money to get it cleaned. Like all of the things drain your profit, okay? So if it's not aligned with how you deliver, then think about what is and how can you rearrange this or reduce the amount of space or move to a less premium location. Like think about like what is the best move for you and your business to bring in that rather large cost, okay? Another large cost area is your taxes, right? So look, we have to pay taxes if we are in a zone where we have to, right? So, and that's okay. It's just that I don't want you to be unaware of that, and I don't want you to be unplanned for it. A lot of people, see this as a big surprise thing that's going to come out of their business, when actually there's no surprise. We do have to pay taxes if we make money. So it's just about setting it aside systematically, away from yourself, away from your ability to take from it, because it's not your money, and just building it into your pricing, building it into your margins if you need to make sure that you are actually able to put aside the tax, okay? You might have heard a price quoted before, and it'll be this plus GST. That's totally fine. That's totally fine, right? So as long as you're letting them know where the tax is going to fall, or if you're not planning for it, what's going to happen is it's going to come out at some point, right? And you're going to have to scramble from all other areas to be able to pay it. And that's not what we want. So we want to be planned and systematic about it and factoring it in, okay? Another area, another large area to look at is inefficiencies, okay? So on the tax one, please speak to a tax agent. I'm not a tax agent, so I would highly recommend that you speak to someone who is across taxes and across the type of taxes that your business does, like, because there'll be different tax agents for different things, just to make sure that your company's set up right, to make sure everything's aligned and everything's accounted for. Number 4, if inefficiencies, right? So this is very invisible but extremely powerful. This is where it's not about what you're actually paying, it's about how you're working. So you could be doing manual admin processes, which could be automated, or you might have multiple systems set up. Like if I go back a number of years, I had all of these systems that used to connect together with Zapier, like so many Zaps, and so all of these systems cost a lot of money. And then all of a sudden technology moves on and I was able to bring all of those together. So it might be something like that. Or it might be that you're doubly handling things. It might be that you have to review everything that your team does because you have to be across it as well. And so it's a lot of time. It might be that your systems are not talking to each other. So staff or yourself or your contractors are spending hours trying to work out what's going on or trying to reconcile the data. And that's no good either. So these inefficiencies are going to cost you way more than a $50 subscription or a $25 subscription ever will, right? So if you fix those, that's going to free up your capacity. It's going to reduce those mistakes, and it's also going to drive profits up without actually adding any more sales, which is awesome, right? So here's a simple process just to review it. Okay. So if you can pull like the last 3 to 6 months of your financial reports, if you're not set up financially like with your reporting, please, I highly encourage you to get someone into your business helping you out to get those, get yourself set up, get yourself on an accounting software so that you can pull your financial reports. Once you've got those 3 to 6 months of financial reports, we want to highlight those top 3 categories of expenses. What's your most expensive things that are happening? What are those categories? Is it staff rent? Is it your accommodation? Is it that you have a really expensive software that you have to have? So for each of these, have a look, are they in line with the size of business that you have? Do they match the revenue that you're generating? Or do you think there's some efficiency savings that you can make by reviewing these? Then ask yourself, where are these inefficiencies hiding? If you need help, like reach out and get someone to come in and look at the business for you. But could processes be streamlined, or could roles be restructured, or could software take over certain processes in your business, right? If you're the owner and you're doing all of the onboarding, could that be handed off to a more junior member, or could it be automated, right? So we want to make sure that, we're in that space of creating value for the same spend. Okay. So once you've reviewed those big ticket items in your business, only then should you drop down and start having a little look at those smaller ones, because by then those smaller savings are worth your time. Okay. So it's as much about mindset as it is about money, because if you're always just chasing those small breadcrumbs, then you're always just playing on defense. You're missing the bigger things, right? You're missing that bigger picture. So you'll just stay busy, but you won't actually move the needle forward, and you'll focus on these little tiny costs, right? If you actually shift your focus and start looking at those major costs first, fixing those inefficiencies, then we're playing on offense, right? We're building a business that can actually scale and scale profitably. So ask yourself, am I just spending my time right now, like, and be honest, like just on those little breadcrumbs, or am I focused on those things that will actually transform profit? Okay. So a quick recap, stop chasing those tiny costs. Seriously, start looking at the bigger ones. Focus on the big 4, your staff, your contractors, making sure you've put some money aside for tax, your rent, your accommodation, your inefficiencies. Review those numbers quarterly, and just adjust where needed. So your big action step today would be just to book in a little bit of time with yourself to look at this. Okay. So if this video helped you, I just want you to subscribe, because I'd love some more subscribers. Hit the bell notification so you get notified when I release my next video. And your next step is to go over to my profile, watch that pinned video, and that's where I'm going to share all of my training on profit clarity. So it'll show you what to do and what moves to make for your business. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.